Embryology is vague. The cosmology describes a solid sky, a pre-scientific model.
A protected ceiling is a perfect metaphor for our atmosphere, which shields us from deadly radiation.
And we haven't even touched on Muhammad's marriage to a child, which is ethically indefensible today.
Which you can't judge without its 7th century historical context. That's called anachronism.
Two worldviews about to collide. Before we jump into round one, if you believe in the power of tough, respectful dialogue, take a moment to subscribe and hit the like button. It's the best way to support these conversations.
Let's begin. The Quran, chapter 23, describes stages of human development. It says we made a drop of sperm, a nutfa, into a clinging substance, an alaqa.
A term that for 1,000 years was simply translated as a blood clot. That is scientifically wrong.
But the word alaqa has other meanings in classical Arabic, a leech, or a thing that clings. This is a functionally elegant description of an early embryo implanting in the uterine wall.
A leech, a shrimp, a tadpole. It's a poetic image, not a scientific one. This is a classic case of reading modern science back into an ambiguous text.
The next stage is mudja, a chewed-like lump. This is strikingly similar to the appearance of the embryo as somites form along its back, which look like teeth marks.
And that sequence, from a sperm drop to a blood-filled form to a fleshy form, is remarkably similar to the theories of Galen, a Greek physician. His works were widely known in the Near East.
Yet the Quran avoids Galen's major errors, like the idea of a fully formed miniature human in the semen.
But it includes another of Galen's errors. It says bones are formed and then clothed with flesh. Modern embryology shows the precursors for bone and muscle develop concurrently, not sequentially.
So my question remains, in 7th century Arabia, with no microscopes, how did this specific information resonant with modern science appear? What's the material explanation?
Divine knowledge or flawed ancient science? What's your take? Let us know in the comments. And if you appreciate this deep dive, give this video a like. It helps us know you want more of this content.
Let's move from the text to the man. A common historical criticism is Muhammad's marriage to Aisha. Islamic sources state she was 6 at the time of the contract and 9 at consummation. From a modern ethical view, this is indefensible.
Judging a 7th century tribal society by 21st century Western norms is historically unsound. At that time and place, marriage was not primarily about romance. It was about tribal alliances, and the benchmark for marriage was physical maturity, not chronological age.
But even if it were a norm, a person considered a moral exemplar for all time should surely transcend the flawed ethics of his era. It's an action that many countries today, including Muslim-majority ones, legislate against.
And his contemporaries, who were his staunchest enemies and looked for any reason to discredit him, never once raised this as a criticism. This suggests it was considered normal within that cultural context. She was, in fact, engaged to someone else before the Prophet's proposal.
So the defense is that it was culturally acceptable. But that brings up a larger point. Apologists often praise his actions that were progressive for his time, like regulating warfare or rights for women, but then use "it was a different time" to excuse actions we now see as immoral. It seems like a double standard.
It's not a double standard, it's a call for holistic assessment. You must see the entire picture. His life involved ending infanticide, establishing rights of inheritance for women, and limiting the rampant violence of his time. To isolate one practice from its deep historical and social context is to create a caricature, not a historical portrait.
A fair point on context. Let's apply that to cosmology. The Quran repeatedly refers to the sky, sama, as a protected ceiling and a building. This points to a pre-scientific worldview of a solid dome over the earth, a view common in nearly every ancient culture.
You're assuming the language must be literal. I see it as a brilliant metaphor. What is the protected ceiling that shields life on Earth from deadly solar radiation and micrometeoroids?
Our atmosphere and magnetic field.
Exactly. For a 7th century audience, ceiling is the perfect word to convey a protective upper barrier. The purpose is to inspire awe at divine providence, not to deliver a lecture on atmospheric composition.
But why choose a metaphor that reinforces a scientifically incorrect model? An all-knowing being could surely find a metaphor that doesn't actively point toward a solid firmament.
If you're finding this exchange of ideas valuable, take a second to like this video and subscribe. It helps us create more conversations like this.
And what about the verse in chapter 51 that says, "And the heaven we built with our power, and indeed we are Musion"? A grammatically strong interpretation of Musion is, we are its expanders. This concept of an expanding universe wasn't just invented by modern apologists. Classical commentators noted this possibility centuries before Hubble.
It can also mean we are vast or we are bountiful. Given the more frequent and clearer descriptions of a solid sky, that seems like another convenient post hoc reinterpretation. The simplest explanation is that the book reflects the cosmology of its time.
And yet it avoids the specific myths of its neighbors. Where are the crystal spheres of the Greeks, or a flat earth resting on a giant animal? It uses language that describes the world as we experience it, while holding deeper meanings that unfold as our knowledge grows. That isn't an error, it's sophisticated communication.
We are now in our final segment. This isn't for rebuttal, but for reflection.
I'll concede that simply dismissing these arguments as reading science into scripture is too simplistic. The approach is more nuanced, focusing on metaphor and the range of meanings in classical Arabic. I still attribute the resonance to human creativity and confirmation bias. But I better understand why a thoughtful person of faith would find it powerful. The point that we must analyze these figures and texts within their historical context is well taken.
And I would agree that skepticism is essential. The warning about confirmation bias is one believers must take seriously. The urge to see miracles can lead to weak arguments. The historical fact that a term like alaka was understood differently for centuries must be grappled with, not dismissed. A claim of divine origin must be held to the highest standard, and the skeptic's demand for clarity sharpens our thinking and pushes us away from intellectual laziness.
From embryology to the cosmos to the character of a prophet, no winner was declared because the point was the tough, respectful exchange of ideas. This conversation doesn't have to end here. We invite you to continue it respectfully in the comments. What did you find compelling? If you appreciate dialogues that build bridges, please subscribe and support our work. Thank you for your time.
Until the next video, God bless you.
I wish you success until the next video. I will challenge this cleric even more in future videos.